In this video, I want to share a tip on how to better perform your hinge movements to target the lower glute instead of the upper glute. In a lot of my clients, especially females, I'll see from previous training that they've overdeveloped their upper outer glutes and have underdeveloped their lower glutes. So what we work on when we're doing hinging movements is to specifically target the lower glute. I'm going to demonstrate some dumbbell RDLs, but this would be the same if you were doing it with a machine, barbell, any other type of hinge-based movement, is when we think of pushing our hips back in order to lower the implement. I want to push my hips back behind me, and then when I'm thinking of coming up, I want to think of tucking my hips underneath. So I want to take my bottom glute seam between the hamstring and glute. I want to think of pushing this forward and up. And that way I get to this position where that portion of my glute is fully flexed, but I'm not standing all the way upright. So again, I'll lower down by pushing my hips back. And then I want to take the seam between my hamstrings and glutes and push that forward and up. That's going to get a full contraction there instead of a full contraction on my upper glute. What most people do is they lower down and they think of just lifting all the way up, and they'll bring their hips all the way through or they'll bring their chest and shoulders all the way up. And what they do is they end up holding the tension in that upper outer glute and the lower in their lower back. So instead, we want to make sure that we're performing that contraction, the upward movement through that glute seam between the hamstring and glute. So I'll grab some dumbbells here. And I do use wrist straps. That way I can just focus more on what the muscles are doing, not focusing or worrying too much on my grip. And I tend to do hinge-based movements towards the end of my workout. So I'm already somewhat pre-exhausted, so I can use lighter weight to, again, focus more on the technique. So in this position, I'm going to think of pushing my hips back in order to let the dumbbells go down towards the floor. I'm going to push forward and upward with that seam of my lower glute and hamstring connection. So you'll see that this gets a full contraction in that lower glute, but my shoulders don't come over my hips and my hips don't actually fully lock out. This is actually exactly what we would want for any other exercise, is that we're maintaining constant tension on the muscle. If I was performing a machine, I wouldn't want the weight stack to touch in between the repetitions. I wouldn't want to lose tension on the target muscle. So the same thing I'm doing here is pushing forward and up with that seam. So I'm maintaining the tension in the contraction, maintaining the tension through the eccentric, and then just repeating that for multiple repetitions. Whew, okay, that got me winded. But if you focus on that technique cue, thinking of pushing the hips back and then pushing the hips forward through that seam, forward and upward through that seam, you're going to get a better development in your lower glutes.